Hello, everybody. It's Megan Graham, and I just wanted to come on today. I just got back really early in the morning yesterday with my new family member. He's actually sitting right here, and it was a little bit hectic getting ready for YouTube. I haven't had a new puppy or a Yorkshire Terrier puppy in about 13 years. So Lola was the last puppy that I had. And this guy is from the same woman that I have gotten all of my Yorkies from. So Teddy, my Yorkie that crossed the Rainbow Bridge about 8 years ago, and then Lola and Poppy, Lola's sister, Alfie. And this is our new Yorkie. He is a little boy, and his name is Bo. Hi, Brittany. How are you? And it's, oh my gosh, Brittany, I can't believe you said that. So, okay, that I was just going to say, he reminds me so much of Teddy. And Teddy was my original Yorkie that I got, I think, about 22 years ago now. And so, for those of you that have been watching, I had 3 Yorkies up until, gosh, about 6 weeks ago. And the love of my life, Lola, passed away 6 weeks ago, which is just, it's so funny. Alfie hasn't played with his mitten toy in so long, and you're a good boy, Alfie, and he's playing with it during YouTube. I think they're really funny. The pets all do different things when I get on YouTube. So, hi, Sash. Want to come up? They're not sure what they think of him, by the way. Yeah, the puppy's right here. Okay, he's not going to do anything to you, though. Yeah, you're being a good boy. We're just getting everybody used to the puppy. He really wants to play with the kitties, which they're not so sure what they think of that. They're being really nice, but they're also just jumping into their tree and they're keeping their distance because, of course, if you've had a Yorkie puppy, they are, they're just, I don't want to say crazy, but they're really energetic. They're puppies, so they are all over the place chasing their tail. Yeah, you are a good boy. He's a really good boy, and Brittany says he's so calm. So I think he is relatively calm, but don't be fooled. He's just calm because he's sitting in my lap right now. And as long as he's attached to my body, he's really, really happy and he's really calm. So Lola passed away recently. And honestly, before Lola passed away, if you've ever had a Yorkie, she was sick for about 10 months. And the last week or two, I knew, as an owner, I knew that it was coming really, really close. I didn't know when the right day was going to be, but I could feel it. And I was honestly afraid because when I tell you, I love that dog and I loved that dog, it was scary to lose her. And I actually reached out to the lovely lady that I got all my Yorkies from before Lola passed. And I talked to her about it. I talked to her about knowing when the time was right, because I didn't want to do it too early, but I didn't want to do it too late. And I also said, I know this probably sounds so weird, but do you by any chance have any, pictures of puppies? Are you expecting puppies anytime soon? And as it turns out, she had a litter of puppies, and I think they were about 5 weeks old when I first asked her about the puppies. And she was really lovely about it. And she said, of course, you can have one of the puppies if you decide to get a puppy. And she was just really wonderful. And so at the time I thought, oh, that's really neat. But then after Lola passed, I've had mixed feelings. And I hope you guys don't mind just me talking about the lead up to this. So basically, I had mixed feelings only because I thought, how am I going to love another dog when I just loved this dog, Lola, more than any dog in the entire world? I just wasn't sure if I could love another dog. And that might sound funny, but if you have lost a dog, it's just hard to even imagine opening up your heart to another dog. But I also just trusted that I have had quite a few pets. And even when I thought, like, for instance, when I got this guy, we got him as a companion to our other cat. And I was like, I don't really want another cat, but I want a companion. And actually, he's my favorite thing. He loves this. He doesn't like it right now, but he likes taps on his bottom. It's his favorite thing. It's how he feels loved. So anyway, I wasn't sure how I would feel. And leading up to it, I was excited, but also, crying about Lola every single night and missing my Lola so much. And Brittany says, "What made you come up with his name?" And his name is actually Bo Sky and then Robinson. So Robinson is Jeff's last name, my husband, and Sky is the woman that I got him from. His breeder actually wanted him in some way to be named Sky because his mother's name, I think, is Chicky, and Chicky is a character from Mamma Mia, the movie, and I actually have to watch it again now. So I think Sky was the boyfriend. Come on, Sasha. You want to come back up? Come here, Betty. Come on. You don't have to be so shy. He's such a handsome guy. And so anyway, Bo, my husband actually wanted to name him after Bo Duke from Dukes of Hazzard, and I told him we're not naming him Bo Duke, but I like the name Bo Sky. And so basically, okay, sorry, I lose my train. Hi, you're so handsome and you're so nice. Yes, Sasha, you're a good boy. You like that? You're a good boy. You're a good boy. So I basically called the breeder after Lola passed, and we talked about it, and I just thanked her for all of her support. And I originally wanted to get a girl. Lola was a girl, and I wanted to get a girl. And when I called and spoke to Cheryl, we talked about it, and she said, actually, I would recommend, there's a boy in the litter, and I would recommend him for you. She said he's the one that I would keep if I was keeping one because he's the most beautiful and he has a wonderful personality. Yes, he does. He has a great personality. He's a good boy. And she just said, I think also he's a little bit bigger than Lola. And one of the things I had said to her was that I would prefer one that was a little bit bigger than Lola. I think she said he should be somewhere between 5 and 6 pounds. I think he's about 2.5 pounds, maybe. He might be 3 pounds now because his vet visit, I think, was a few weeks ago. So he's probably about 3 pounds. And Lola was just under 4 pounds when she passed, but she was about 4.5 when she was healthy. And so anyway, she recommended the boy, and I really wanted a girl, but I've also had boy dogs, and they have great, Alfie's a boy, and they have great personality. So I decided just to trust. She's known me for years and years, and I couldn't fly. She is back east, which is where I'm from, and now I live out west, and I couldn't fly to go and meet them. It just wasn't going to work, especially because if you've been following along, Alfie, who is my 9-year-old Yorkie, he's had a terrible cough, and as it turns out, he has lung scarring, and we don't really know why. It's a little bit of a mystery, but lung scarring isn't really great. I guess it's called pulmonary fibrosis, and so my goal is going to be to try to control. Hopefully it doesn't get worse, but it's not really a great thing for your dog to have. So anyway, so we already had a boy dog, and I was just waiting to be able to travel to go get this little guy. So I got him a little bit later. I think he's almost 14 weeks old now. I usually get my dogs at about 12 weeks old, but I knew he would be in great hands because I've gotten all my dogs from the same woman, and she takes great care of them. And so as soon as I could, I flew out. I had a quick trip with my mother who lives in New Hampshire, and we actually drove together to, so the breeder that I got him from is a show breeder, a Yorkshire Terrier, Club of America show breeder. And if you don't know what that means, honestly, I think it means that they have a huge passion for Yorkies. So show breeders do not do this for the money. They do not do it for the money. They do it because they love the breed, and they really choose the most beautiful, even-tempered, wonderful Yorkies you can ever find, and they're really just working to make the perfect Yorkie. They're not doing it. You won't hear them say things like teacup, because teacup is just a marketing term. Sorry to disappoint anyone. And they're just really, really great people to get a Yorkie from, basically. So we drove about 2 hours from New Hampshire to get him, and it was so funny because we saw the puppies were actually. We walked up to the kennel with Cheryl, and the puppies there were 3 of them, 3 puppies in a pen. And my mom initially said, "Oh my gosh, they're huge." And I was like, "They're definitely not huge. They're like Yorkie toddlers, but they're not huge." And as soon as basically Cheryl took him out of the pen for me and brought him inside. And so it was really funny because I wasn't sure if I could love another puppy. Just being totally honest, I thought I could, but it was hard to imagine because I miss Lola so much. And I have to tell you, as soon as I saw this little guy and I just saw his little body, if you've seen Yorkie puppies, they have like funny little torsos, like they're so fluffy and they're kind of awkward when they're running around and they're so excited and they're just like wagging their entire hind end. And as soon as I saw him and as soon as I met him, I fell in love with him. I mean, I just absolutely fell in love with him. Um, it was like truly, it was just love at first sight. He was so friendly and it was really funny. So there was actually a cat. They have an outdoor cat, and the cat was playing with him, and it was so cute to see how much he just loved the cat. So that was really cute, and I was really happy about that because of course we do have cats. I'll just look at these comments really quickly too, by the way. It says he's precious. Yes, they do have the same look. Yep, he's so cute. I didn't even convince my husband to get another Yorkie. I just told him we were getting one. And now that he's met the puppy, he is totally in love. And it says, I said the same thing when I lost my last Yorkie. I couldn't go through the loss again. But a few weeks after, we went to just look, and now we have the sweetest boy. That's actually what happened as well that's what happened when I met Teddy. I wound up, so my other two Yorkies, I did not get as puppies. I got Alfie. I met Alfie. He was actually with the breeder and he was 2.5 years old. And I adopted Alfie just about a month after Teddy passed. And I didn't expect to adopt a dog so quickly. But when I went and I met him, he was so joyous and he was so sweet and so happy to see me. And I just knew that he needed to be part of our home. And so I took Alfie home, and I actually adopted Poppy. She was 1.5, and she was Lola's sister from the same litter. And she had been held back to be a show dog, and she was just a little bit too small. And so Cheryl actually had asked me if any of my friends might want her, if I knew somebody that might want her. And I decided just to get her because I thought it was such an opportunity for Poppy and Lola to be together as sisters. And so they lived together as sisters for 11.5 years. They were so fortunate to be together. And Poppy is a really great dog. She's quirky, but she's a really great dog. And It's All Love says, I just received my new male KB puppy. Congratulations. That's so exciting. It says he's 4 months old and is 1.5 pounds. That's wonderful. Congratulations. And see, Ollie says, all her dogs have the best dispositions. They really, really do. And Lisa says, so cute. He really is so cute. He's great. So it was kind of an adventure. I picked him up with my mom. My mom fell in love with him right away. And he was such a good boy. She does such a good job with her dogs. I asked her if he had ever been in a carrier or worn a harness before. And she said he hadn't, but she was like, well, he has to get used to it sometime. And just, I was picking him up from her house and we were basically almost going straight to the airport, and then I was flying back here. So he had a big adventure. And basically, so we met, we didn't get to visit for as long as we wanted, but we packed everything up. She gave me a beautiful bag of all of his things. She showed me the vaccinations that he still needs, what he's had done. And she had food for me. She had a water bowl for travel, just all kinds of nice things, toys. And he was such a good boy. So I slipped his beautiful Susan Lancey harness on that I just got for him. And he didn't even do a thing. He was so easygoing, such a sweet boy. He didn't, he didn't protest. He was very, very sweet. And then I put him into his little bag, and my mother drove us. We drove back to Manchester, New Hampshire. That's where I was flying out of. And he was just so good. So he rode in his little bag, and I actually had to pick up. So I had ordered a bag. It turned out to be way too big to travel. I guess it was the wrong size. And I ordered a second bag from Amazon. And when it showed up, guys, be aware of this. The second bag that I ordered from Amazon smelled so badly of chemicals. I think that sometimes when they are shipping things from China, They are spraying them with pesticides and chemicals. They don't want rodents or insects, and they're spraying the bags. And I smelled this bag and I just was like, absolutely not. There's no way, especially after having 2 dogs with autoimmune disease, there is no way I would put my pet into that carrier. So if you do order anything from Amazon, one of those kind of no-name Amazon brands, just be careful, because the one that I got looked so cute and I thought in a pinch it would be okay. It reeked of chemicals. So I returned that one. My mom and I had to drive, there's no stores where I'm from, 45 minutes, and we got a very nice Sherpa carrier, Sherpa brand. Didn't smell like anything. It was a great carrier. So we put him in the little Sherpa carrier as I needed something that I could fly with. And he did really, really well. He was very easy. He was very sweet. He slept. He kind of woke up. I think he was scared. It's a really scary day for dogs when they get taken away from everything they've known, right, with new people. And so I will say on the car ride was about 2 hours, and he did get sick one time. I felt so bad for him, but I was fortunate that I had packed things so I could clean up after him and, clean his little face and things. But he was a very, very good boy. And obviously he couldn't do anything about getting car sick. Like even I've gotten car sick. We made a quick stop at my older brother's house. He got a little break. He got to go outside on my brother's yard, and we had a little lunch and things. He was very curious. I put a belly band on him because I had not had time to house train him. So I figured that way I wouldn't have to worry about him running around my brother's home and, peeing inside his house. So always great to do a belly band or a Pampers in a situation like that, just so that you don't have your new puppy peeing on someone's house or, on their rugs and things. But he was a very, very good boy. My older brother fell in love with him, and my mother drove me to the airport. She dropped me off, and it was definitely not a smooth flight back. So we flew American. My dad was a Delta pilot. I will probably never fly American again after the experience I had. I won't even, just on the way there, it was supposed to take 8 hours to get there, and it took 16. Every single flight was a disaster. I slept in the airport on the plastic chairs. Every plane, there were supposed to be 2 flights, but there were actually 4 planes, and everyone had maintenance issues. Some of them had crew issues. It was like the biggest nightmare ever. So I was hoping that it was just going to be flying there that was a nightmare, because I've never honestly seen anything like it in my life. Like the first thing I was like, stuff happens, but then it was like just kept happening. And so on the way back, I was hoping it was going to be a lot easier. We got onto our first flight. That was okay. We went up. You have to check in. You have to pay for your pet to be able to fly. He was very, very brave. He was really scared when we walked through security, super scared, but he was such a little trooper. And I don't know if they changed the rules. I know that when I flew home with my cat, and he was a kitten, I know that they let me hold his carrier on my lap and kind of like have my hand in there, but not have him out. The flight attendant got pretty mad at me this flight for doing that. So the first flight, she got pretty mad at me for doing that, which I was like, ooh, I didn't really know I wasn't allowed to do that. So he had to stay under the seat for most of the time. I did kind of like reach my hand in there just to make sure he was okay, because I feel like you need to check and make sure your puppy is like breathing, not wrapped in something. So that was a little bit stressful. Obviously I knew I couldn't hold him, but I kind of thought I could keep an eye on him and look at his carrier. Yeah, I was nervous for you. I was a little bit nervous for you. He did get sick in his carrier again. Poor little guy. I mean, I can't even imagine to be taken from the place that you grow up and then go to the airport right away. That's really, really scary. But fortunately, I was able to take the little blanket out of his carrier, and I put it into a Ziploc bag so I could deal with it later. And I just lined his carrier with one of my big t-shirts so that he would have something fresh to sleep on for the next flight. And then our adventure started because our next flight got delayed by 2.5 hours. So we spent 2.5 hours in the airport. His little personality is so wonderful. I think as far as a 14-week-old puppy, he is as calm as I could ever ask for. Now, can he also scream bark and he sounds just like he's a little child? Yes, he can. So I don't want to say he is not calm like this all the time. That would not be a normal puppy. But for a puppy, he is calm and sweet and easygoing. So we had a really long flight. We got into Arizona at 1 in the morning, and my husband picked me up. He fell in love with this guy immediately, but we actually had to, so it really kind of screwed up our day because I was supposed to get in around 9. We had to introduce him to the other animals when we got home because there's no way that anybody was going to go to sleep if we didn't introduce them. So obviously I didn't introduce them by letting him loose. I would never do that. We brought him in, we let everybody sniff his little carrier, and then I actually have a playpen just to the side of me. So there's a playpen right there, and we put him in his playpen, and we just let the dogs out to just kind of sniff and see what was in the playpen. And after we let the dogs sniff around the playpen, we let 2 of the cats also check him out. And we have a very, very sensitive female cat, so we waited until last to show him to her because she gets really upset really easily. She's not sure what she thinks of him, but we were able to at least let everybody sniff him, and they're going to take a while to really get comfortable with him. So it's not, I have to show you guys his little face too, just for a second. I'm sorry to wake you up. Can you look at everybody? Can you look at everybody? You can't see his eyes because he is such a good boy. He is such a good boy. He's so nice. What a good puppy. I have to look at these comments too. So sorry. Hi, Angie. Angie says your Yorkie was born 2/22, and you also have an 8-year-old, have a niece, and he's still a bit jealous. I think that's super natural. Jewel says he's so adorable, so happy for you all. Thank you so much. We're really happy. He is such a sweet little guy. So he was very good though. And the first night, basically, I set up a futon mattress, which I have anyway. It's the nice Japanese futon that I always used to sleep with Lola. I got it when she was sick because she didn't want to be in a bed. And I put that mattress on the floor. I put his playpen right next to it. And Alfie and I slept on the futon mattress, and Bo slept right next to us. And he was a very good boy because that was definitely his first time ever sleeping without a pack of puppies. So he did, yeah, you did so well. Are you looking at yourself? You're such a good boy. This is his first YouTube. He is such a good boy. So he did a really great job. He went to sleep that night. And yesterday we were all just super, super tired because I don't think we got to bed that night until 2:30. So for him, that would have been 5:30 in the morning. That was a long day for you, Bo. That was a long, long day for him. He was incredibly tired. And Ollie says, I only fly JetBlue with Oliver. I have never had an issue. I can keep the carrier in a lap. And I have, with Top Open, we started flying when he was 6 months, and he's fantastic. Yeah, I don't really, do as you like, but I don't think I will probably ever fly American with a pet again. Not just because of the flight attendant was pretty rude to me. She wasn't like, oh, could you please put your carrier under the seat? She was like, carriers go under the seat at all times. And I was like, wow, she's so polite. Not at all though. But anyway, it's not even just that, because I understand that airlines have their policies. I just think that, so my dad was a Delta captain, and we flew Delta a lot. And I know that stuff happens. Like my dad would tell me, sometimes there would be maintenance issues, and maybe they couldn't take off because of the plane because it wasn't safe. And I totally understand. And I don't want people to, I have some flight hours myself. I almost got my private pilot's license. So I don't want them to take off with an unsafe plane. But I think it was kind of absurd that every single plane was broken. Like maybe, I'm not sure if I would think they're checking them before, but even when they got, like, the first plane didn't take off, I was flying out on a red eye, and they were like, oh, yeah, this plane isn't working. We're going to get another plane. And then they were like, we have the plane. We're just waiting for a flight attendant. And then they said, we're not sure if we can get a flight attendant. We're waiting to see if we can get permission to get a flight attendant. And then they canceled it. I slept in the airport. And for the next plane, at 5 in the morning, I was on board and they said the plane has issues. We're going to get another plane. So they took us all off of that. They put us on another plane and they were like, hey folks, we just got this out of the hangar and the GPS doesn't work and it needs a circuit board. So we're going to see if we can get this fixed. So we took off 2 hours and 10 minutes late, which was just like absurd. And I had to sprint to my next connection, which I couldn't have done with you, could I? I couldn't have sprinted with this little baby in his bag. So I sprinted, I made it. And then when we got on the next plane, they were like, so we're not gonna be able to take off until later because we're waiting on a crew member. But the good news is they just landed and it's gonna be about 25 minutes. And I was like, I'm not sure that American Airlines plans things in advance for their flights. That's how I felt. So just for me, it's not even about their policy of the fact that you have to have your bag under your seat. It's just like, it seemed like they didn't have good systems in place. And I could be wrong, that's just my opinion. But it seemed like they were just like, hey, let's throw together an airline and we'll take off whenever. And you don't get anything. They gave me a $12 meal credit, like legitimately a $12 meal credit, which didn't even get me an egg sandwich. And it just kind of seemed like if you buy a ticket, they should try harder to like do a better job. That's all. So I love Delta. That's who my dad flew for. I've never flown on Frontier. Is it a good airline? I'll definitely try it. Yes, his little face is so cute. He is such a good boy. Jewel says, I lost my little white 14-year-old sweet toy schnauzer last September. I am so sorry. And I got my 6-month-old silky blonde Yorkie back in December. What a joy. His name is Rufus and hubby and I love him so much. Best of luck. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you do have a new baby to love too. It's like, they'll never be exactly the same as the babies that we lost, but they are really special too. He reminds me so much of my Teddy, my first Yorkie that I had as an adult. We had one growing up too when I was a child, but he reminds me so much of Teddy. I don't have a ton of pictures because I think I got Teddy just as iPhones were kind of coming out, maybe a couple of years later. And so I don't have that many pictures of him, but he looks a lot like him. And Ramona says, I have a 1-year-old Yorkie Party. I love her so much. They are so lovable, honestly. And Angie says Yorkies have very distinct personalities. They really do. And so they really, really do. Yesterday, I started introducing the new baby, Bo, to the other animals. And Alfie, our dog, he's a Yorkie as well. He's a male and he's almost 10 years old. Alfie is the sweetest dog. If you guys have seen him he's so sweet. And usually Alfie doesn't really like other dogs. So this is a really big step to be getting a puppy. But Alfie has been so kind to him. And Bo is just all over Alfie. He's trying to jump on him. He's trying to play with him. And Alfie doesn't really know what to do. He will never snap at him. He will probably never tell the puppy no. So I think it's possible that I'm going to need to tell the puppy no for Alfie sometimes because Alfie will just take anything. He'll never be harsh to the puppy. He'll just let it do whatever it wants, which that's okay. But sometimes he's almost like too sweet for his own good. And if you've ever had a Yorkie and another dog, you know that the other dog will eventually tell the Yorkie no when it's being like a little out of control toddler. Now, our other dog, Poppy, who is Lola's half sister, Poppy is probably honestly not going to be very nice. She is not very nice. She's not very nice to cats. She doesn't like anybody in her personal space. So we are not going to introduce him to Poppy. We're not going to let them really meet face to face. They're actually meeting through the playpen right now. And Poppy most likely, she does not have teeth, but she would most likely snap at the baby. And we want him to be super, super confident and super used to her before there would be any potential experiences like that. And not that we're just going to let that happen. But I think if they meet each other through the playpen quite a few times, I think it's going to go a lot better. So we're probably going to wait about 2 weeks before he meets Poppy because Poppy is sassy and snappy. He has met the cats. Sasha is really funny. He doesn't know what to do with him. He is following Sasha around. He's kind of trying to mouth at him. He's not really nipping, but he's trying to play like a puppy. And Sasha just kind of walks away from him. Same with Simba. They don't really mind him at all. But Nina is very, very skittish. And Nina actually was sort of like running away from him. So we were wanting to see how they would be, but we're going to give it like weeks and weeks with Nina again too. So every time Nina's out right now, but if he is down on the floor and he's walking around and he's playing, we have a special room for Nina with a 6-foot gate. So we have Nina in that room when he's out right now. We're separating them and just letting everybody get really used to the fact that he's here. So we obviously have a lot of animals, so we have a lot going on, but we just want everything to be really, really slow and for him to get his confidence. And if you guys have watched my house training video, if I'm not watching him, I put him in a playpen. So I don't just let him roam. There's so much stuff for little Yorkies to get into. So if, just like a baby might be in its playpen, if you're not watching your baby, he goes into his playpen, so he's not getting into any cords, he's not getting into any trouble, and he's only out of his playpen right now when he has my full attention. So we are working on house training already, and he's doing well in his playpen, but he started getting pretty vocal today because he is not used to being in a playpen. So it's definitely, if you haven't had a puppy, they are a lot of work. Yeah, it's like having a human baby almost. Lisa says, I have had a lot of delays, but I haven't flown with Coco yet. We will be taking her to Florida in February. Oh, that's good. That sounds super, super nice. We'll definitely plan and have your stuff with you, Lisa, so that if you do, have a lot of delays, that you're all set and you have your things. I was really happy. I had lots of extra potty pads. I had things to clean with. I had folded up paper towels. I had belly bands. I mean, you name it. I had it, food, everything. And I was really, really careful not to put him on the floor at the airport at all. So he's only 14 weeks. He doesn't have his first set of vaccinations. And my sister's dog actually had parvo. I don't know if you guys know what parvo is, but parvo is really, really serious. And it is very commonly carried on shoes. It can be on the ground. So I don't put any of my babies onto the floor, especially when they are tiny little babies, because they just don't have immunity from parvo yet, which worries me. My sister's dog got super, super sick. It actually came from the breeder with parvo, and it was a really scary experience. She actually reminded me of parvo because when I needed a carrier, she said, I have a carrier, but Max, her dog, was in it when he had parvo. And she said, I think I actually need to dispose of it because no dog should, I don't think cats can get parvo, but no dog should ever be in that carrier again. So anyway, I was super, super careful not to put him on the floor, which actually meant I sat on the floor of the airport because I would rather just me sit on the floor and wash my clothes after than for him to get sick with anything. So far he's doing super well. I think Alfie likes him. He was very worried. He was crying in his little playpen when I was getting ready for YouTube. And he started making a new sound I hadn't heard. It sounded a little bit like a screaming child, and it was concerning to Alfie. So I think Alfie is already starting to love him a little bit. We have his first vet checkup at our integrative vet today. So we're actually bringing both the boys there. Alfie has been getting ozone treatments. He's definitely getting a lot better from valley fever. He's also on an antifungal. And I'm so happy because his cough is getting a lot better. But we're also going to get this little guy his checkup. And we also just want our veterinarian is so lovely. And we spent a lot of time there having Lola because she was sick for 10 months. And so they have become like family to us. So we're really excited to introduce him to our vet. He's, by the way, he was cute in pictures. He's so much cuter, probably because of his personality, but also my mom even said it. She said he is so much cuter than he even appeared in any of the photos. And hi, Pat, how are you? It's nice to see you. Pat says, so excited about your new addition. Mine passed 9 weeks ago, so close to when Lola passed too. I'm so sorry, Pat. And I have to wait over a year for a new fur baby as I'm living in a remote area. Oh, wow. That is a long time. I'm so sorry that you have to wait for so long. That was one of the reasons that it's funny. I felt like I wasn't quite ready for a puppy, but when I spoke to the lovely lady that I got all of my Yorkies from, she had puppies right then that were 5 weeks old. And she said, and I just said, she was like, so there's this litter, and then I don't have another litter planned for another 8 months. And she said, and that's a litter I have planned, but of course we never know if it will happen because so it could also be another year or longer before I have puppies ready. And that was really what made me decide. I was like, I don't want to wait for that. And also, she's such a lovely lady, but she's in her 70s. And so I always try to do everything that I want to do, now instead of waiting. So I'm sorry that you have to wait, Pat. That's really, really hard to wait for sure. He's wonderful. So he's really, really great. It's nice to see that he's getting along with the other babies. He's got a nice little setup in there. I'm using Lola's little fleece blanket because his is still getting washed a couple times after he got sick on it at the airport, but he is doing great. And we are so happy to have him as an addition for our family. He is so wonderful. And I'm still working. I know I've told you guys about it a few times, but I'm working on, I'm about 3/4 done. I'm putting together a book, and it's basically all things Yorkie puppy. And it's not trying to cover everything. So it's not going to tell you every little bit of vet care you should get or things like that. But it's really about deciding whether you want a boy or girl, deciding if a Yorkie is right for you. There's going to be a whole section on how to find a great Yorkie, whether it's through adopting, which is incredible, or getting a breeder and actually finding one that's reputable, like really reputable, because there's so many people out there that say they are. We were just talking about this because she is so great. And I was telling her that when I first time I went to a Yorkie breeder, this was not the right thing to do, but my little brother had passed away and I wanted to get my mom a Yorkie. I was going to ask her first, obviously. I was 26 and I found this lady and I went, she had the cutest little Yorkies and she said, oh, these are the parents and all of this stuff. And she seemed really nice. It was wonderful. But I Googled her when I left and it turned out that she was a puppy broker. And if you don't know what a puppy broker is, they're just getting dogs shipped to them way too early. They're separated from their families really early. It's not a humane or ethical way to do things. And so obviously I decided not to work with this lady, but I was speaking to the show breeder that I work with, and she told me that apparently people have seen satellite pictures of this woman's house that I went to see. And it's not that she just has Yorkies, she has Yorkies and Dachshunds, and she has like 6 different kinds of dogs. And she just tells whoever is there that day that she's a Yorkie breeder or a Maltese breeder or what. Like she sort of just changes her story. So it's definitely challenging. It's easy to make a misstep when you're trying to find a great dog. And it is important. One, because you want a great dog, but you also want the parents of your dog to be treated really well. So you don't want to get a dog from a puppy mill or a puppy broker. They are treating those dogs so poorly and separating the dogs early. So it's really important. It really matters. And I don't think it's talked about enough. So that's going to be in my book too, because I didn't know about it when I started and now I do. So, and Pat says, yes, you have to be sure you have a reputable breeder. You definitely do. And that was one of the reasons why I flew all the way home, because I know this amazing woman and we've worked together for so long, and she has become a close friend over the years. She's just been, when you find someone great that really cares, they are with you every step of the way. She was with me for Lola from birth to death and after death. She supported me through everything, all my questions, and if there was something wrong, I would say, do you have any ideas? Have you seen this before? Just a really great breeder is just such a resource. And by the way, it does not mean that you do not have to get a puppy. 2 of my dogs, they were not puppies when I got them, and I love them so much. I love Poppy and I love Alfie, and it does not make a difference to me that they were not puppies when I got them. So just know, I think every dog just really needs a great haircut and a glow up and some love. And you'd be surprised. I think a lot of people are probably judging, like, look at it this way. If you're looking to adopt a dog, they're not going to look good when they're waiting to be adopted. They're really just not. They're not going to look their best because someone's not caring for them. Like, if we were in that situation, trust me, I wouldn't look good. And they really just need their hair brushed. They need a proper haircut. They need some love. They're probably super stressed out. They may not be sleeping well. When I got Alfie, he was very happy, but I will say he had a terrible haircut, like terrible haircut. And you really couldn't even tell how cute he was. And I took him to my groomer. She did a little zhuzh up. She fixed his hair. She rounded his face. It took about probably 5 or 6 months for his hair to really grow out. You'd be amazed. So anyway, sorry to just go on and on about Yorkies, but thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today and for being excited for me. I really appreciate it. I know I just have tried to show up for all of the different stages of everything, including losing Lola. I'd never lost a dog while I had my YouTube, and I just didn't feel very authentic to show up, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't show up and act like it didn't happen because she is my family member. And it was just one of those things, and I'm sure I'm still going to talk about it because I will think about her forever. It's a little tiny bit softer, and I will say that just having this guy to love and to cuddle and snuggle makes it nicer. I want to show you guys something. I don't know if he'll do it. I'm sorry, I'm really disturbing him, but what he loves it when you pick him up. He loves to be held like this. He loves to just like cuddle right against you. Yes, you do, because you're a good boy. I think he just really loves the body heat, and he loves to be cuddled. He loves to be cuddled and snuggles. You're so nice. And they all start out dark like this. Yeah. Oh, you're not cuddling quite as much as usual, are you? You're a nice boy. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was so nice to see everybody. I'm looking forward to this vet visit, and we will see how the boys do in the car together. But he is an absolute joy, and I'm sure I'll be back on within a week for sure, just updating you guys on how it's going. And he is beautiful and sweet, and he's just perfect. I love him so much. So thank you so much. I hope everybody has a beautiful, beautiful day, and give your babies a kiss for me. Yes, right? Want to say bye? Want to say bye? Say bye. Say bye. You're such a good boy. Aren't you beautiful? You are gorgeous. Bye, everybody.